Wait, like for how long? Like just since we came back?
Since we came back.
Oh, okay.
It's been a long...
You gotta start this one over, I guess.
Sorry.
That's fair.
Wait, I didn't...
Are we ready now, Richard? Yeah? We're good to go, buddy?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, no.
Alright, too bad. Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin. Next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, we are joined by our producer, Richard.
Ahoy.
It's close.
You know what? That drunk Richard's close enough, so.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC comics and movies while fielding questions from listeners like you while
on the 10th day of DocMas, the doctor gave to me 10 reads were bleeping, 9 cavils bashing, 8 Alfred's killing, 7 intro singing, 6 Collins decaying, 5 Morrison screams, 4 edit points, 3 Fernand Brancas, 2 bad impressions, and some comic books from DC.
And in news, Justice League VR, the complete experience, hits home VR platforms. I don't know what VR
Oh, yeah, virtual reality, motherfucker.
Isn't that just regular reality?
No, it's virtual.
Well, is it virtually reality? Or
It's digital reality. Anyways, it's fucking cool.
Colin, the future's made of virtual insanity. Will always seem to... Jamiroquai? Nobody?
Insanity.
Just me?
Always leave you. Oh my god, the walls are moving.
Yeah. I do love Jamiroquai.
Dude, fucking Jamiroquai's the fucking...
You make me lovely, love you, baby, with a little L.
I'm sorry, there's more Jamiroquai songs?
Is that what? And I didn't even sing Can't Heat. That's the one from Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay, yeah, I know that one.
Sorry.
Sorry, Justice League VR.
Yeah, so VR stands for virtual reality. There's a whole like virtual reality Justice League thing.
What does that even entail? Does it just mean that it's like you're in the movie?
No, I think you get to be like a leaguer, don't you?
What?
Which would be dope.
I mean, I'm cool with that. I just like...
I'm a little worried that we're like moving into the VR territory because like it's hard enough for us geeks to leave our homes when we've got all our comics and video games. Like if we could convince ourselves that we're living a different reality, like
I can't go to work. I have got a mission.
I wouldn't fucking eat. Like I'd be like, I don't need to eat. I'm Superman. I'm absorbing solar radiation.
Legitimate though, like...
You look like that's what you're doing right now, by the way.
Because I'm super pale because we've been inside all day.
Because you've been losing weight like it's going out of fashion.
Yeah, fucking stop it. I'm feeling fat. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's right. Come with me if you want to lift.
Lift what?
Wait, lift what? Lift.
You're not lifting.
Yes.
I'm not.
No, you look like that guy from Philadelphia that wasn't Denzel Washington.
Come on. Tom Hanks? You couldn't remember Tom Hanks?
I wanted you to say it, so I didn't have to.
Anyways, this is a game. Yeah, this is actually a game. You get to outrace your enemies as Batman, fight parademons as Wonder Woman, fly across land and sea as Superman, face creatures from the deep as Aquaman, stop ticking bomb as the Flash, and take out enemy drones as Cyborg.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all, yeah, sorry. That's what I didn't mention. It's all tied to the movie. But yeah, there is a Justice League virtual reality experience. So if you're one of those people that like has like all of the gear and like has spent the money on the necessary equipment, I say go for it because we're getting just like closer. You know, like even video games where you have to use like an actual controller, like the Arkham games. The whole thing was like be the Batman, right? Like you should feel like the character as you're doing it, right? And I think yeah, thank you. I think the virtual reality thing is just like one step closer to like immersing you in that world. So if you have those things already at your disposal because you're already playing VR stuff, I say definitely go for it because who wouldn't want to be Aquaman? Who's with me?
Yeah, no, I would totally be Aquaman.
Thank you.
Or Ragman. One of the two.
Icky thump.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, no. I definitely would want to do
I know
that.
Colin loves that whiskey scene from the movie. That's why
I have
So good, though.
I have a pretty sneaking suspicion that this is probably not a great game. One, because I haven't heard really anything about it, and two, because it's a game based on a movie, which almost never works out well. But I think, if you've got all the stuff, why not do it?
Yeah, or you could shit on it. Yeah, no, you're probably right, frankly. But
But I like that they're doing it, and
no, I totally know what you mean. It's definitely got some like red flags.
looking at the graphics, it looks like it's from like Xbox 360.
Does it look like playing Vector? Like playing Vector on those old like computer games,
not that far.
or like Doom.
Okay, not that far, honestly.
What was the was it Hover 3D that came with like Windows 95 or something?
Oh, so good. I like that. All right, let's hit up the questions.
Let's do it.
We're going to Twitter.
Twitter.
Kyle Clark has a serious hate on for Kyle Rayner, hey?
Yeah, he does.
He's like, who has the worst late 90s costume and why is it Kyle Rayner?
We've talked about bad costumes before, but not always necessarily in terms of the 90s. I think Kyle Rayner did make my list of terrible costumes, so
I think it's a Kyle thing. He's just like, he feels like he's badly representing.
there can be only one. That's like a Highlander rule. Yeah.
There can only be one Kyle Lander.
Kyle
Lander, yeah. Fuck
I
you.
like that. No, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Rayner certainly is up there in terms of bad 90s costumes. I think another one that came up in our Capes and Tights episode was, what's his name? Jared Stevens. He was Fate. He was the 90s version of Dr. Fate, where he melted down the helmet and turned it into, like, daggers, and, like, he had an Ankh tattoo on his face and, like, shit like that. I think that's a pretty bad 90s costume. Hitman has a pretty 90s
pretty bad,
look.
yeah.
It's got a pretty 90s look. Electric Blue Superman. Although, is that technically the 90s or early 2000s? Either way, I think Electric Blue Superman probably counts. Yeah, Kyle Rayner might take the cake because he was a character who was so persistent. He was in like different series and always in that shitty costume with the big chunky mask and the bulky gloves and the predominantly white and black Green Lantern uniform. So he's probably up
Aren't
there.
those guys usually fairly colorful?
They're usually green, but when Kyle Rayner became Green Lantern, the Green Lanterns had all been destroyed by Hal Jordan. Basically, Hal Jordan like wiped out the Green Lantern Corps, and Kyle Rayner was given the last ring and was like the only Green Lantern left. So Parallax was out there. Hal Jordan as Parallax. And then
Laxing it up.
Yeah.
As one does.
Yeah, but he had like just a terrible, terrible costume. I still think though that Azrael Batman costume is worse. The like sort of robo yellow and blue bat suit that Azrael wore after Batman had his spine broken by Bane. I think that to me is the worst.
By Bane, eh?
You merely adopted the dark. I was
born into it.
Molded by it. By the time I saw the light, it was nothing but blinding.
Anyways, on to Reddit.
The fire rises,
everything is
brother.
Awesome, and Reed's impressions probably would get ripped to shreds.
Yes, Reddit.
Hey, it's Isaac.
Hello, Reddit.
And that's not just me saying it. It's actually, hey, it's Isaac.
Oh, hey, it's Isaac.
What is up with the Flash and time travel? Is he actually canonically able to just run fast enough to go back in time? Wasn't there a treadmill or something he was supposed to require for this?
That's a really good question. We've talked about the cosmic treadmill before on this.
The cosmic treadmill.
Take a drink. Yeah, so the Flash, because he taps into the Speed Force, and we know that the Speed Force, from the map of the multiverse, is a multiversal power. The Speed Force wall surrounds the orrery of worlds, which is where all the parallel Earths are. The Flash is fast enough and can tap into the energy so he can not only move between Earths, but he can also move in time, both forwards and backwards. The Speed Force allows the Flash to move backwards in time with relative... Wow.
You didn't move fast enough to catch that?
Butterfingers.
I'm no Flash, that's for sure.
No kidding. Is your phone okay?
Yeah. Yarr.
So the Flash is able to move backwards and forwards in time through the Speed Force. He can move with relative accuracy into the past. But what the Speed Force doesn't allow him to do, because the future is so malleable, there are different futures, the Flash actually can't move accurately into the future. He could do it, but he can't necessarily guarantee where he ends up. What the Cosmic Treadmill does is allow him to be more precise, both going forwards and backwards in terms of where he ends up temporally. So, the Cosmic Treadmill is totally a thing. You're absolutely right, Hayes Isaac. That's a thing that is
totally a thing.
He requires it to do it accurately, but technically his Speed Force ability allows him to move both forwards and backwards in time. He moved forwards in time by himself during Blackest Night. He pushed himself 2 seconds or something into the future to sever the connection of Black Lantern rings that were chasing him and Hal Jordan. He can move both forwards and backwards on his own, but the Cosmic Treadmill gives him accuracy. So you are right. That is a thing that he does need technically in order to properly execute time travel.
Well, on that note, Dr. DC will be back after a quick break.
All right.
Woo.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Company. Great Lakes sent us some products to sample and try out, and they are amazing. As you might know from my cartoon image, I have a beard. And so it's I got this really great beard balm. It comes in some different scents. I got the one that's called Your Love. It's very fresh. It's made from beeswax and lanolin. It protects my beard from harsh nature extremes, and I know I try not to give away our location, but we do live in a place with extreme natural weather. And I use that to seal in all the goodness from the beard oil they also gave us. I with matching scent, the Your Love scent. I haven't gotten into clashing scents yet. But yeah, so I get out of the shower, I throw the beard oil in, wait a little bit, and then I put the balm in after it, and my beard is silky smooth and wonderful. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use. Rain or shine, all their products are purposefully designed and environmentally responsible. They're handmade in Canada and ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And for you lucky listeners, you can get 10% off on Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code DrDCPodcast. That's greatlakesgrooming.com, promo code DRDCPodcast. And now, back to the show.
So we got some emails. Yasmin F says, if you had to move to one of the alien worlds of the DC universe, which one would be the easiest to adapt to, and which one would be the hardest?
Right. I mean, we got to start with the ones we can cross off quickly, right? Krypton exploded. Mars its civilization was destroyed in a plague of psionic fire. Thank you, Ma'alafa'ak. Ones that we've talked about. In this, 12 episodes of DocMas, we've talked about both Ran and Thanagar. Ran is a relatively peaceful planet, sort of governed by science. They're scientists, they're explorers, that's where Adam Strange ends up, thanks to the Zeta Beam. So Ran is an interesting planet. I don't know that necessarily I would fit in there. I don't know that I have the scientific acumen to be helpful on the planet Ran. I think it'd be relatively safe, except for the conflict with Thanagar, which is the homeworld of the alien Silver Age versions of the Hawks, Hawkman and Hawkwoman. Thanagar is like a warrior planet. I think I'm equally not at home on a warrior planet. But even on Ran, I don't know that I'd feel safe knowing that Thanagar is out there and wanting to get at me. I certainly couldn't be on Sarnia, which is the homeworld of Lobo.
Especially for all those lions, witches, and wardrobes.
It's Narnia. It's close. Zarnia, CZ, Lobo killed the rest of his race as a school project as a kid. So Lobo is, quote unquote, the last Zarnian. So I can't do anything there. We can't do anything on, let's see, what other planets can't we do things on? Ismolt, we can't do very much because there's kind of like genocide there, and that's the home of the Red Lanterns. I don't think I have the rage in my heart to actually be a Red Lantern, so I'd probably just be like killed and ripped apart or something like that by Atrocitus and Dexstar and Zilius Zox and stuff like that. Oa is the homeworld, it was the homeworld of the Green Lantern Corps and the Guardians of the Universe. Well, not their homeworld, but where they were centered. Oa doesn't exist anymore. So now the Green Lanterns are located on Mogo, which is a sentient planet, and I think I'd feel a little bit weird about living on a planet that can think. Like, he'd just know what was up. He'd know if I wasn't hiking enough, because he could feel it. So that would be a little bit weird. Tamaran, where Starfire comes from, is like totally despotic. Like her sister Blackfire is like a tyrant there, so we can't go there. We can't go to Kolu, which is the home planet of Brainiac, because we have to deal with Computo, or the computer tyrants of Kolu there.
No good.
That's no good. So that's another one that's out. We can't go to let's think of another planet. Fuck. I wouldn't even feel comfortable around Saturn, because that's where those like Martian offshoots like Gem, son of Saturn, are from like the moons of Saturn and stuff like that. To be perfectly honest, I don't think I can't go to Korrigar, because that's Sinestro's homeworld, where he's a bit of a tyrant. Well, not a bit. He's a straight up tyrant. There's not a lot of places. We can't go to the entire Vega sector, where the Citadel is in control and the Omega Men are fighting for freedom against the Citadel. There are like whole big parts of the universe that are just not safe to go to. They're just not. Certainly, as a person with no power, like if it's just me going somewhere else, even if we take like, can I breathe the air or shit like that out of the equation, there are very, very few places in the DCU that I think I would actually do well in. Even on Earth, there are countries and things like that I wouldn't want to be in the DCU. I wouldn't want to end up in Vlatava, which is the home country of the villain Count Vertigo. I wouldn't even want to be in Markovia, where Geoforce is like a superhero and the prince, but it's relatively, not well off. I wouldn't want to end up in Gorilla City. I mean, the place that makes the most sense, we'll circle back to the beginning, is Ran. I'm maybe not a scientist. Maybe I can't contribute to their society, but they're at least trying to be peaceful. Everywhere else is like, it's just mayhem. Every planet you ever visit is like in the middle of a crisis, right? Like it's that Booster Gold comic that we made you read, Colin. There's that like mini planet where everyone's like smaller and they shrink Superman and Booster Gold down to be there. And there's like a power crisis going on that planet. And poor Kilowog, he comes from Bolavax Vic, and that planet I think was destroyed. And we know that Jon Stewart let Xanshi be destroyed. Like there's just like
I'm hearing a lot of no's. Let's hear some yeses.
What about Terminus?
Ooh. I think even there I wouldn't necessarily fit in. I honestly think Rand might be my answer. I know I started there and said that it wouldn't work, but Rand's like the one place where I feel like they wouldn't actively try to hurt me.
Or Mogo. I mean, you got the Green Lanterns.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's that, but because it's the homeworld of the Green Lanterns, it's constantly under attack, right?
Yeah,
for a bit, like, Mogo had his ring taken from, like, the New Gods came and took Mogo's ring, so then that planet was just dying for a bit. Like, you end up, like, putting yourself in harm's way a little bit. You think, like, you're safer there, but I think you kind of put yourself in the path of danger by being on Mogo. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't want to be on Ranks, the Sentient City, or anything like that. I don't know that there's a safe place anywhere in the universe. This has gotten very dark for me. But
Earth is the
Xantho,
only one for you.
Earth Prime.
More than anything, I think Earth is the safe place. You have the bulk of the heroes of the DCU there, and it's one of those. Mythologically or narratively speaking, it's like the center point of it's the place on which like the multiverse hinges, or like where life began, according to Blackest Night, or things like that. Earth has an importance which almost guarantees narratively that it won't be destroyed. Of course, for Earth 2, that's not true. Or for Earth 8 was invaded by the Empty Hand and the Gentry. That one got destroyed. Or Earth 7. One of Earth 7 or Earth 8 was destroyed by the Gentry. In pre-Flashpoint continuity, Earth 51 was destroyed. So even Earth isn't necessarily safe, but Prime Earth, or Earth 33 even, where we live, the real world, I think are relatively safe. Can I just say the real world? Earth 33? That's where I'm safest? Does that count as an alien world?
If you're thinking about Rand, then you could go with the Citadel. The
Citadel's the bad guys, though, man. That's why you stay out of the Vega sector.
Yeah, it's true.
The Green Lantern... Like
whole fascist empire now.
The Guardians made like a deal with them, so the Green Lanterns aren't even there to enforce justice. The Vega sector's a no-go, basically.
Yeah. Man, so stay on Earth.
Maybe Daxam. I would live on Daxam.
Yeah.
Daxam is the homeworld of Mon-El. He basically gets Kryptonian powers, but his issue is lead. But they're generally like relatively peaceful. You just live on your own planet. They're kind of contained and quarantined. Not too much happens on Daxam. I think I would stay there. Maybe Daxam is the answer. Yeah.
And not too much is made with lead anymore, so you'd be okay.
Yeah. You'd just be like, oh, was this like room painted in the 60s? I can't come in.
Where'd you get these toys from?
Exactly.
So, Chad Bokelman sent us an email.
Bogle.
Pick 5 characters as your Justice Society of America. Caveat, you can include Freedom Fighter characters, OG JSAers, and the new generation as well, including the New 52 Earth 2 versions. I don't know.
So the Justice Society, I know this one's maybe a little...
This one's for you.
This one's a little harder for you guys, because you maybe don't know what all of those characters are. But in general, the Justice Society draws from like the golden age of superheroes. I don't know if you have like picks that you'd want in there.
No, I don't really know the Justice Society that well.
Well, I think in a previous episode I talked about that I did like Alan Scott. I can't imagine a Justice Society without Alan Scott and Jay Garrick. So the Golden Age, Green Lantern, and Flash. I have a hard time picturing that team without those two.
Love original Flash. Jay Garrick is awesome.
Yeah, they're that kind of like the romanticized vision of like Days Gone By. They're that kind of classy old timer superhero.
Definitely.
I have a hard time picturing a JSA without them, so I'm going to burn 2 right now. I would say them. To me, Dr. Fate is a key member of the Justice Society. Not only does he bring magic into the equation, but I feel like he's also sort of tied to like an older sense of morality or an older sense of justice, and I think that it fits with the Justice Society. So you get Alan Scott, Jay Garrick, Kent Nelson, the original Dr. Fate.
Our Man?
I mean, Our Man's kind of a classic, right? I'm concerned a little bit that my Justice Society is just going to be the classic Justice Society.
Right?
But I like Our Man.
Rex Tyler's awesome.
Rex Tyler, he takes Miraclo, which is a pill that gives him 1 hour of like strength and agility and things like that. Rex Tyler's story is actually pretty dark because it basically turns into a story about drug abuse, because Miraclo is this thing that he needs to be a superhero, and he can't be super without it.
He needs Miracle Grow? Was he Elon?
Miraclo, yeah. Do you know what? I'm not ashamed of this. I think my Justice Society lineup is pretty like OG. You know, it's Alan Scott, Jay Garrick, Kent Nelson. So the original Green Lantern, Flash, Dr. Fate. It's Our Man, and it's Hawkman. It's Carter Hall.
Really? No Spectre?
I know the Spectre is like one of like he's a very like old time one, but the Spectre to me is he's too powerful because he's tied to that power of God. I know that was kind of retconned later. The Spectre wasn't always like that, but like to me he's too powerful for that group of heroes. But if you think of like, and I also realized that my choices are not particularly gender equal, right? I've picked 5 guys, but there's something about representing that older era. And I don't mean that in the nostalgic, like, weren't things great when it was all guys kind of way? I certainly don't mean that. But what I mean is, like, I think all of those characters kind of represent, like, the old guard. It's not that they don't have things to contribute in the new world, but they definitely represent something slightly outdated, slightly that we've moved beyond. And I think all 5 of those ones are characters who are maybe a little bit left in the dust by the younger, newer versions of themselves. You know, Alan Scott's got to contend with Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz. There were so many Green Lanterns that came after the original. Jay Garrick has to deal with Barry, Wally, Bart, like all of these other versions of Flash. The other Wally. Dr. Fate has Kent V. Nelson, Jared Stevens, Khalid Nasur, and Khalid, I can't remember his last name, but there are other Doctors Fate. Hawkman obviously already lives multiple lives, but there are different versions of Hawkman too. And even Hourman is kind of surpassed by his son Rick Tyler, and we know that Hourman mantle passes on into the 853rd century because Hourman shows up in JLA 1 million. So I think there's something about the idea that those characters they served their purpose, they were great heroes, and then the world moved on. It's not that they don't have something to contribute, but like they're kind of old news. There's something interesting about that. I'd love to see a JSA story about them dealing with that there are already new versions of themselves and they're trying to find where they fit in like the new sort of scheme of things. I kind of like that. I think that's my JSA.
I like that too.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a bit like a cop-out because I'm just like naming original JSA members, but like it's kind of perfect to me. I don't want to mess with a good thing.
I like the like second tier JSA, like Sandman, Starman, Black Canary, Hourman, and Atom Smasher. I like that. I like sort of more like the B team.
Well, and what was interesting about Jeff Johns did a run of JSA for a bit, and it was interesting because the Justice Society also then included like the actual like children or like inheritors of like mantles of the original JSA. So like Barry Allen wasn't part of the JSA, but for example, like Obsidian, the son of Alan Scott, was.
Mm-hmm.
He had different powers from Alan Scott, but he was the son. So he was like, you become part of that. Infinity Inc. was kind of like where they started, and then they ended up in like the JSA or like Cyclone and and characters like that. Even like Captain Marvel ended up in there too. So I think there's something interesting about trying to find your place in a world that's moved on from you. And I like that in a JSA story.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I think we did it.
That's number 10.
That was 10, folks.
We're so close.
So if you want to reach us on our Facebook, we're at
Dr. DC Podcast.
On Twitter.
At Dr. DC.
Instagram.
Dr. DC Podcast.
On our email.
drdcpodcast at gmail.com.
On our website.
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
And
make sure you go to iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe. Give us 5-star reviews and what Colin does, and we'll make sure we read it on an episode. We definitely will do that no matter what it says. That's right. No matter what it says.
Yeah, I think that's everything.
Oh, and occasionally we'll post on r/podcasts or r/DC Comics on Reddit if you want to go on there.
That's right.
Well, some kind of sign off.
Adios.
Fucking 10. I'm fucking drunk.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
Yeah, give that bitch almonds. Bitches love almonds.
Yeah, you know that old saying, that old chestnut, that old almond.
That old chestnut.
Oh, that's nuts.